Welcome back, everyone. It's John Pollock here alongside Jimmy Corderas coming out of the WWE's 29th annual Survivor Series event where we have a new WWE champion, someone who was not part of the tournament. This was met with a lot of criticism, Jimmy, and we're going to discuss it all. But first of all, overall impressions of the Survivor Series going in, were your expectations met?
From a match standpoint, I enjoyed the matches. I didn't think there was a problem with the actual matches themselves. Did I have a little bit of an issue with the direction they went, especially at the closing of the show? Maybe so, but you know me, I try to be the half glass full type kind of guy as much as I could possibly be. When something doesn't go the way that I like, I don't go all keyboard on everybody. I kind of sit back and say,
you're not a millennial.
I'm not a millennial, and we'll get to that later because we were talking about this. I got to mention this. I'll say it now.
Just give it.
I'll get it out there. Some guy tweeted, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember the exact tweet, and I don't even know who it was. But basically, he was calling out Roman Reigns for not getting over as a babyface. One of the reasons is because he did not take Triple H up on his offer and take the easy road to the WWE Championship and just, and I'm thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me. Heels are the ones that, so I just tweeted him back and I said, well, that would be the very millennial way to look at things, asking for a handout. Jeez.
Wow, I like the different areas of which you threw criticism at this person. The millennial route, the socialism route. I mean, man, you covered everything there. Wrestling and politics kind of merging there.
There's always been a little bit of a correlation. You go back in years, obviously using ethnic stereotypes over the years has been a major staple.
Your Twitter follower, he should have been booking Austin in '98. That would have been a hell of a run. Would have been a hell of a run.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Well, let's chat about the 2015 run that is beginning with Sheamus as our WWE champion. It ended it with Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose getting to the finals of the tournament. Roman Reigns wins a match that, as soon as the Dirty Deeds was hit at about the 6-minute mark, you realized, wow, this one is not going long. They're already going into near fall spots. And then the finish, out of nowhere, just pops out of the corner, spear by Reigns, clean pinfall. And Reigns wins in about 9 minutes, and you got the big confetti celebration, and they really let it sink in, and you think, are they going to do the cash in? Hunter comes out, followed by Sheamus. 2 brogue kicks later, Sheamus is the champion. What was your reaction?
A little bit, not so much surprised. I almost kind of felt that the celebration at the end was intentionally overdone to kind of suck everybody into thinking that this was the end of the pay-per-view, but I kind of had a sneaking suspicion that it wasn't, especially when Hunter came out. I thought it was interesting that no one did turn at the end. I think the swerve was that nobody did turn, which kind of got everybody. And that I kind of didn't mind so much, the fact that nobody turned. And you can still save that for down the road, leading up to something else. But as far as Sheamus cashing in, I just don't see. I get the thought of having a heel as your champion and Roman Reigns.
You need a top heel with Seth Rollins gone. I guess the argument is who is best for that position. And I don't think most would have Sheamus maybe in their top 3 candidates.
Here's the thing, though. I think the guy right now who is an incredible heel but just does not get the heel reaction that he should be getting is Kevin Owens. He's an incredible heel. He has done nothing since he's come to the main roster to endear himself to the audience, but the audience is still cheering him because they enjoy his character. They think he's funny. He's all this stuff that should get him booed out of the building. They're kind of like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I'm going back to the millennial thing.
For those that are listening to this on podcast form, the rolling of Jimmy's eyes when he said they like his character. Man, it's very drunk uncle from SNL of you.
Yeah, I mean...
Millennials.
Yes.
I like my character.
I want to go into full Bernie Sanders mode right now, but anyways, I'm not going to do it.
Well, Sheamus is the option that they did go with on Sunday night. And I guess coming out of this, where do you see this going? Because ultimately he is now attached with Triple H. You have the automatic feud with Roman Reigns. Is this a short title reign? Is this Is there something that if this does somehow carry some momentum and people do get behind the idea of Sheamus as a heel champion, that you can go beyond, say, the Royal Rumble with this guy? Or is this going to be just a hiccup until the title does get to Reigns in time for WrestleMania?
I think this is going to be a work in progress. I don't, as much as you like to say you have a set plan in place going into WrestleMania, this is really, really a crapshoot with Sheamus, because you don't know. It all depends on where they go forward from here, especially starting with because we're doing this before Raw.
Yes, this is Monday morning.
So it all depends on what happens on Monday night and where they go from there, because if he just comes out as being the Sheamus we've seen for the last several months, I just don't see.
You need to update a lot to him, and eliminating stuff like lines like "we're about to get jiggy with these posers" from earlier in the night. Not exactly setting the table for a big heel run. I will say the past weekend, just hearing about what went on the creative front, it seemed like chaos throughout Saturday and Sunday, where they had a whole different plan ready on Saturday morning that changed many times, and the day of on Sunday, they were making changes. And it was just, Sheamus was not some plan that they had all along that they were going this direction. It's very much spur of the moment ideas being thrown out, and it's going to alter plans a lot and shift changes of where this is going, how this is going to work itself out. And I think any plans that they have for WrestleMania, it's all to be determined, because things change on a dime. And as we're seeing, I cannot recall a time, Jimmy, that they've been hit so hard with injuries than this period. And we can add Cesaro now to the list, where he may or may not require surgery for injuring his shoulder. Another guy that at a time when your roster is so thin and you're trying to fill 3 hours of wrestling, losing a guy like that can do your 15, 20 minutes on every show, that's a huge loss. And it's just, all of these guys are just dropping like flies at this point, that they're just, it's reaction mode.
Yeah, it is. And I was trying to compare it last night. I was trying to think about how to compare it to the era when Vince was in, or the company itself was in rebuilding mode in the 90s. Like, especially during the Monday Night War, where, they were getting their butts handed to them on a weekly basis. So the company went back into full rebuilding mode. It was almost needed to save the company back then. Right now, the company is doing so well financially from a business standpoint, I don't think there's that same panic.
No. Changes like this of Sheamus, who wins the title. I mean, you have so many different revenue sources that it's largely fixed income, whether it's television revenue, network subscriptions. You know what your level is, and they're not going to sway too much based on creative decisions. I think that WrestleMania is certainly your peak point of the year. You want everything to kind of peak for that period in time. But I think it does give them some latitude that they can experiment. And maybe there's an argument they don't experiment enough with characters, that they don't rely on elevating other new characters that they can make money off of.
That's definitely a fair point, especially going in, like you said, into WrestleMania season. This could be an opportunity, like you said, to start building new stars, because they're going to bring out the big guns anyways at WrestleMania. Brock's going to be there. Taker's going to be there. Possibly The Rock. The big names come out for WrestleMania, so the audience will be there. Maybe that's the opportunity they need to maybe elevate the next guy, whoever that may be.
How about Dean Ambrose? He was sort of lost in the shuffle by the end of the show. Gets beat by Roman Reigns. Is a turn for him something imminent, or how did Dean Ambrose come across on this show to you? Because he was a big focus of this tournament, and where you're going to go with him, Raw will probably provide more answers towards his direction. Do you stick with the Owens program he was involved with, or he seems somebody now that is a very important figure, but doesn't come out of this show with a whole lot of momentum.
No, he's almost in that Randy Orton role right now, where he's one of your top babyface guys, but he doesn't really get into a program that's very meaningful. He gets glimpses of it. He gets placed in there every once in a while. He's kind of like, I used to call Dolph Ziggler the best utility player in the WWE. You can just plug him in anywhere and he'd be great. It's almost like Dean Ambrose is becoming that guy as well, and I don't think that helps him. I think he needs to really, really break out, whether a turn is imminent for him. I think that might be the best course right now. But then again, you get back to that whole argument. Even if he turns and becomes a quote-unquote heel, will he get the desired heel reaction?
Yeah, and the program to turn him is Reigns, and Reigns is now paired off with Sheamus, so the timing doesn't seem right at this point now when you've kind of detoured that. Let's chat a bit about some other stuff on the card. We had Charlotte and Paige. They went over 14 minutes. And I thought the crowd, they just didn't seem all that into this match. I thought the women, they worked hard in the match, but there were some key spots, like easy reaction spots, like Charlotte's spear, the natural selection, and sitting on their hands. I don't know if it was a backlash that they went too far on Monday with the promo, if it was just it went too long and they weren't into it. But I thought this match kind of was disappointing considering that they did try and push this as a big program on Monday, and I think that line in hindsight was a big mistake because I think it was a case of people they were turned off by it, and I don't know, and maybe it's just looking at the Atlanta crowd, they just weren't into a match and looking too deep into it.
It could be that. It could be the backlash from, like you said, from the Monday night final segment last week. But at the same time, there was so much talk about that segment and that what was said in that segment. And going into the match, as hard as the girls worked, I just thought that it didn't start off the way it should have started off the match. It didn't start off with the it should have been a fight from the beginning, in my opinion, because, let's face it.
As soon as that abdominal stretch got applied, I was like, you've just taken me out of this grudge match element.
Exactly. It's like I hate you, collar elbow tie up. I mean, it just, from a storyline perspective, didn't make sense. And maybe they were looking for more of a fight, the audience. I don't know. Maybe they did tune out because of the backlash from the Monday night segment, but.
And this match felt like the end to this feud. I mean, pretty clean, decisive finish that this was probably the time for that out-of-control fight, which when you do something like you did Monday, and I was not a fan of it and hated it even more afterwards in the wake of everything that occurred, but that you go that far, you need to follow it up with something to match, and maybe that's a problem that when you do such an outrageous thing like that, you can't match it, and the audience realizes, okay, you've taken me out of this.
Right.
So Charlotte retains the title. What is next for her? That's another question mark. I think it's too early to go to the Sasha feud, which seems like the natural program to get to. I would want to peak that for WrestleMania because I can't come up with a better women's match for WrestleMania, but there aren't a slew of challenges for that title, and the Paige feud feels over.
Right. I agree with that. And also, I just hope going into WrestleMania we don't get another multi women's match.
I hope not.
Let's have for once in the last, I don't know when the last time was, we had a singles match for the Women's or Divas Championship.
I think you could make that a very important match, and whether it's almost like they get their own miniature rumble or a tournament even to crown the contender, so that it's a really showcase your women, bring up a few new women that haven't been seen on the main roster, and make it a big kind of reboot because this Divas division since the summer, it hasn't clicked like they have envisioned.
Oh, no.
But Charlotte and Sasha is a match you can go to, and I think at WrestleMania on that stage, it can almost be chapter 2 of whatever they had envisioned. Also on this card, Dolph Ziggler and Tyler Breeze. It was short, but I thought this accomplished everything it needed to. A heel victory by Tyler Breeze, hitting the knee. I really like how they've worked this knee injury into Dolph Ziggler's matches for the past month. Wins by a heel tactic and right guy that needed the win in this first high-profile match. I like this for what it was.
I did too, and the only knock I have against Tyler Breeze was debuting him in the tournament. I don't think that was the right course of action. I thought the debut could have been against R-Truth, and that would have been just fine leading up to this match with Dolph Ziggler. But you're right. In my opinion, the right guy won. The right guy needed to win. If Dolph Ziggler, again, and here's your utility guy who's making other guys look good. So, we're going to see how far this gorgeous gimmick lasts. I mean,
you'll have to add some layers to it.
Yeah, because right now the way it is, it's very limited.
And we had a pair of traditional Survivor Series matches. None of the participants announced ahead of time, so it was just surprise after surprise of who was booked on this card, including the returning Goldust, who was back on the pre-show.
Yeah, which is a nice surprise. It's nice to see Goldust back. Apparently, from what I understand, Cesaro was slotted for that match as well, but like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, apparently he injured his shoulder a week ago on Raw during that that great match he had with Roman Reigns. It was a very quick match he had the next night with The Miz at the SmackDown tapings. So it's wait and see. If he requires surgery, then you're looking at a much more significant rehabilitation process, and it's at a time when you're trying to fill a show, and guys like that are just, you can't put a price on that, that you can throw out and they can do 15 to 20 minutes. Yeah. So it's a big loss for a company that's just putting out so much content.
Yeah, especially now, because I had my own little theory developing, my own conspiracy theory, as we talked about before we came on the air here, that those of us who are around this business long enough kind of develop a conspiracy theory attitude. I think with, unfortunately for Cesaro, I feel like it was almost like they're trying to create another Daniel Bryan scenario, if you know what I mean, by him getting as over as he is with the Cesaro section and stuff like that, where Daniel Bryan had the yes thing. But this perceived notion that he's still not given an opportunity, he's still being held down, he's still not being pushed to the main event level, would actually help increase his popularity amongst the audience, and then almost make it look like the audience has persuaded the WWE to take a direction and pull the trigger on Cesaro because they wanted it to happen. And it could have happened at the Rumble again.
Well, the pattern's been established, and I did feel that there was that potential this year in the Rumble, that if you have an undesirable favorite that could be coming out of the Rumble, Cesaro would have gotten that reaction. And the Rumble crowd, I think it's going to be interesting this year, because the last 2 years, that crowd has destroyed the match, essentially. It's been a low point of the year the last 2 years in that Rumble match, because they've picked Daniel Bryan, and that's not the option they've gone with. So Cesaro is kind of in that spot at this point, but may not be for the short-term future, at least, depending on how serious the injury is.
And the deal with Roman Reigns, I think that was the idea behind the cash-in on Sunday, trying to recreate that Daniel Bryan momentum that he got, but the difference is the more diehard audience was really behind Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan also appealed to a broader audience. He appealed to kids as well as the hardcore fans. So that's
all right. Final thought on the Survivor Series. I want to ask Jimmy Corderas who his anti-millennial award goes to. What two people had the best match and worked the hardest on the show?
It's funny because the best match of the show, I thought, was Roman Reigns and Alberto Del Rio.
Agreed.
I thought these guys worked well together. Surprisingly, I didn't know what kind of chemistry they were going to have, because I've always been a fan of Del Rio's work. I think he's very technically sound, and of course, the big knock on Roman Reigns is he's this generation's 5 moves of doom guy, but for some reason, you look back, kind of, you could draw a parallel to John Cena. You look back at his body of work over the last year, he's had some pretty good matches with a variety of opponents, and I know everybody...
Not a technical wizard, but someone that he works around whatever limitations he has. And, I mean, granted, he's had some very good matches with some talented people, but also, I mean, he has had matches with The Big Show. That Last Man Standing match, which was laid out very well. We look at this past Monday at Raw with Cesaro, and I do give Reigns, it is two guys in there. And Del Rio's another example on Sunday night. I thought that they had the match of the night. And Del Rio, I mean, it's not as if his return to the WWE has been populated by excellent matches either at this point. He's had a really tough time getting out of the starting position during this return, but I thought that outside of the win over Cena, which was great win, in terms of a match, this was Del Rio's best showing since coming back.
Yeah, maybe this is a good kickstart for him to get him back into the groove, so to speak, because being away from the WWE, everybody talks about the WWE style. The WWE style is more about storytelling and psychology as opposed to 450s and 17 super kicks. So there's the difference right there.
All right. Well, folks, he is Jimmy Corderas, wrapping it up for all you millennials out there that downloaded the show for free. The WWE is going to be back with TLC coming up on December the 13th, and there'll be plenty of weapons and stip matches for you to either complain or applaud, Jimmy.
You know what? Glass half full.
What did you think of the commercial for TLC? I thought one of their better ones.
I enjoyed it.
Creative, different.
You know what? And it was a little bit of old school, which I kind of always like.
All right. Folks, that is going to wrap it up for us. You can get all of your news and daily shows up at liveaudiowrestling.com, and we'll speak with you next time here on the Fight Network.